Welcome to Big Blue Glasses. Videos about cruising, travel, and more.
Welcome to my top 7 reasons that Royal beats Norwegian. Last year in 2023, we went on 2 cruise ships. The first was the Oasis of the Seas from Royal Caribbean. That ship holds a little over 5,000 passengers. That was in September. In December, we went on the Norweigan Getaway, a cruise ship that holds about 4,000 passengers. So the ships were similar in size. The Oasis, we went on a cruise for about 8 days. The Getaway, we went on a cruise for about 5 days. We were excited to go on Norwegian because we had thought from some of the videos that we saw on YouTube and reviews that we saw online, because it was slightly more inclusive, we might have a better experience. We'd also heard it might be superior to Royal. Our opinion, now that we've gone on both, is that Royal is superior to Norwegian. And I have 7 reasons I can give you why. Number 1, boarding and deboarding. The process of getting on the Royal Caribbean Oasis of the Seas was very smooth. Once we got into the terminal in New Jersey, it was quite fast. That we got through the line, that we were processed, that we got onto the boat. I can say we were in and out in maybe 10 or 15 minutes. And there was a lot of people in there in various lines trying to get processed, filtering through the terminal. When we went to get on the Norwegian Getaway, the process was exactly the opposite of what it was on Royal. It was chaotic. There was one giant cattle call line with almost 500 people in it, and it took probably 40 minutes standing in line to get through. And there was only maybe 6 or 8 agents waiting on people to get them processed. To make matters worse, they have to filter through a card system of pre-printed identification cards that you use on the boat to get yours out and give it to you during that process. In the Royal process, they just look at your ID, they ask you a few questions, and they quickly escort you onto the boat. You get your ID cards later in the day and they're taped to your stateroom. The other thing I can say is deboarding. The process of leaving the boat, whether for an excursion or at the end of the process on Royal, was clearly marked, well organized, signs everywhere, very easy to exit the boat in an expedient manner. The process of leaving the Norwegian boat was very chaotic, hard to follow. No signs in the elevator, very unclear which deck you should be leaving from. It was not a good experience. It took over an hour to get off of the boat at the end of the cruise. On Royal, it maybe took 10 minutes to get off of the boat. And that's the end of reason 1, why Royal beats Norwegian, boarding and deboarding. Reason number 2, Wi-Fi. I believe the Wi-Fi was far superior on Royal, even though you still have to pay for it by the day, and I'll tell you why. NCL or Norwegian does offer what they call complimentary Wi-Fi. Complimentary in the fact that you get 150 metered minutes for free. And as soon as you sign into the Wi-Fi and begin to use it, a little timer countdown clock starts, because I used it when I first got on the boat. And you very quickly start using your minutes, even when things in the background of your phone are using the Wi-Fi and you've forgotten you've been connected. If you'd like to get the Wi-Fi on NCL, there are 2 ways that you can pay for it. One way is the regular streaming package. It's $29 a day. You can access things like Facebook and Twitter. You can browse the internet, buy things on Amazon, things like that. If you want to stream anything, any kind of video, any kind of streaming service, YouTube, TikTok, you will need the higher end streaming package, which is $39 per day. These prices are per device. So if you're a person that has a phone and a laptop and a tablet, that's 3 devices. You'll need to pay for all 3 devices. If you have 3 children and you and your wife need Wi-Fi, that's 5 devices right there. So it's either $30 or $40 a day, basically, for the Wi-Fi on NCL. In addition to that, and I had both packages at different times on Norwegian, My experience was also that the internet, the Wi-Fi will log you off and on throughout the day. You'll have to reconnect as things don't work. It's very inconvenient and hard to use. In contrast, in Royal, you can get the Wi-Fi for as little as $20 a day if you pay in advance before your trip, $26 per day on the boat, but for that money you get up to 4 devices. I would say the comparison between the two, well, Royal beats hands down. And that is the end of reason number 2. Royal definitely beats on Wi-Fi. Reason number 3, the drink package. The drink package is an interesting conundrum because on NCL we felt like the drink package was kind of all-inclusive. That was one of the features my wife talked about before we got on the boat. You're going to be able to drink beer, well drinks if you'd like, soda, pop, juices, things of this nature, in addition to the regular things like water, tea, coffee, stuff like that. What we found is when you go to the complimentary dining rooms and when you go to the buffet, you're going to get water, tea, coffee, and maybe 2 juices out of a machine. If you would like soda or pop, you're going to have to go to a bar. The buffet on the Getaway did have 2 bars at opposite ends. It's quite a walk. And you have to wait in line every time. And sometimes there's 10 or 20 people waiting in line for a drink, and that's very inconvenient. In addition to that, on a couple of occasions, I asked for, say, a sugar-free Red Bull with vodka. Had to pay for Red Bull because it was premium and not included. I guess as expected, maybe it's not a well drink. I was able to drink a Michelob beer on a couple of occasions. So for me, not being a heavy drinker, liking to have Diet Coke or Diet Pepsi or diet drinks on a regular basis was very inconvenient and hard to consistently have the beverages of choice that I liked. In addition to that, there is no bottled water on Norwegian. There's boxed water. It is a premium water in a waxy type of box, and it's $3.30 for a half liter and $6.60 for a full liter. It is not included in any beverage package except for what they call a water package. I've never been on a cruise line where I had to pay for water before. So now we're going to talk about the beverage packages on Royal. Now first of all, let me say Royal does have water packages as well. You can get a 12-pack of Evian premium water delivered to your stateroom. They're 1-liter bottles. It's $39. If you'd like 24 bottles of premium Evian water delivered to your stateroom, it's $69. Do you have to have premium Evian bottled water delivered to your room to get water on Royal? Absolutely not. You can get a generic cold bottled water at just about any customer service station or bar on the ship. All you have to do is ask, just walk up there with just the refreshment package, the lowest beverage package. They should give you one. We had no problems getting free bottled cold water anywhere we asked. Now they do have other packages on the boat for different kinds of things. The lowest package you can get is called the soda package. The difference between NCL and Royal is as soon as you board Royal, you can get your tumbler. And it's a Coca-Cola tumbler that you keep for your whole cruise duration there. And it's free with that package. And the bottom of the tumbler is a chip. The chip is an RFID chip that when you take it to any Coca-Cola freestyle machine on the ship, you put your cup up there. It will identify that you have that package and it will dispense any of the 200 odd combinations that it has to you. Coca-Cola Freestyle machine, you've probably seen one before. I mean, you can get Coke, Diet Coke, Coke Zero, Sprite, various flavors of orange, pop, Fanta, grape, some sports beverages, root beer, and everything in between. The difference is on a Freestyle machine, you can choose whether you want sugar or zero sugar flavors, and you can add flavorings to them. In other words, you could have sugar-free root beer and add vanilla to it. You could get a Fanta orange or grape, or you could add orange or grape to a Coke. It'd be kind of weird, I guess, but vanilla Coke, orange Coke, people have told me it's great. So that is the soda package, $12.99 a day per person. There is a higher package called the refreshment package, $29 a day. That entitles you to non-alcoholic cocktails at any bar on the ship. And I've heard as well that you can get smoothies and spa with that package as well. The deluxe beverage package, that's where you're going to get all of your mixed drinks, all of your beers, all of those different kinds of fruity Caribbean drinks and all those things. $56 a day per person or more. It depends on your trip, depends on the length of trip, but that is per person per day as well. So for us, the soda package, even though you have to pay $12.99 a day, and when we experienced the Oasis of the Seas on Royal, we used those Coca-Cola Freestyle machines all the time. There's about 15 on the ship in various locations, and all the time, we were filling up our cup. We always had a beverage in our hand. On NCL, even though pop and soda was included with the package that we had on the boat, as an inclusive thing, it was very hard to get one. It was very difficult. We had to find a bar. We had to wait in line. Our choices were like Coke, Diet Coke, or Sprite, and that was kind of it. And I would say, honestly, comparing the two, I would easily pay the $12.99 a day and have the inclusive one on NCL. That seemed like a better deal at the time. And that's why we prefer Royal over NCL for the beverage package. Next, reason number 4, food. In our opinion, the food on Royal Caribbean is vastly superior to the food on Norwegian. The first thing I can say is that the quality of the food is just better. And I don't mean in certain places. I mean in all places. In the premium dining spaces, in the formal dining rooms, in the complimentary food spaces. The Norwegian food is just subpar. It's not prepared as well. It doesn't taste as good, and I can definitively tell you from our experience that it's just cheaper. It's just cheaper food. I'll start with the basic things. The buffet. On Oasis of the Seas, one of the nice things about the buffet is that you can go to the buffet for breakfast, lunch, or dinner and always expect to get good food. There was always a station that had burgers and hot dogs and your basic things, and you could always find mashed potatoes and macaroni and cheese for finicky kids, or people that just wanted their fix of comfort food. And it tasted good. The mac and cheese was cheesy. It didn't taste like it was nonsense out of a box. The mashed potatoes tasted real, not that they were flakes or something. The burgers and the dogs, they were good. They were beef hot dogs. They were better tasting beef burgers. But the buffet also had on Oasis of the Seas for Royal, different concepts every day. Indian on a station, Mexican food, Asian food, Irish food, German food, all kinds of different things. They would have a salad bar with a different specialty salad of the day. The breads were all fresh and all kinds of different breads and cold cuts and cheeses each and every day. Desserts were absolutely outstanding. Just everything about the buffet was great. So now let's compare. Norwegian, not only did they have the same things for breakfast, lunch, and dinner pretty much every single day with very little variation. The meats just didn't taste as good. The sausage tasted like some of the cheapest sausage I've ever purchased by accident from the store. It didn't taste good. It was soft. It was mealy. I can't even say it was greasy. It was just bad, poor quality, and everything seemed like it had been frozen, thawed out, and served to you. There were no real chefs back there, actually cooking. On all of the places on Royal, I always felt like the cooks and the chefs were top-notch, that the displays on the plates, were just created and crafted with care, and the food was great. I will say on Norwegian, the dining room food in the formal dining rooms was better than the buffet. But if I have to compare the formal dining room on Norwegian with the one on Royal, the one on Royal, it's like the difference between getting food from a 4 or 5 star chef and, a TGI Fridays or an Applebee's. I say it that way, but that's kind of what it was like. So let's talk about premium food. This is my problem with Norwegian. The food that's complimentary was pretty much in the almost inedible buffet. One of the three dining rooms, which only serve lunch and dinner, or a place called Oceans, an Irish pub, which is open till 3 in the morning and does serve a limited menu until that time. It does serve breakfast as well, but the menu is the same every single day. So if your children are tired of the buffet, or you're tired of the buffet, and you go to Oceans a couple different days, you're going to be tired of that real quick too. And then you're going to start outweighing your options between the formal dining rooms and premium dining. Now, on Norwegian, the premium dining, I will say one thing. Pay attention to the menu prices, because it looks like most of them are a little higher than Royal. What we did see in the fine print, we were scheduled to go to the Brazilian steakhouse on the Norwegian Getaway. And we saw in the fine print on the bottom of the menu that they have a $59 cover charge per person for the Brazilian steakhouse. I don't know if that goes to the mariachi band or the people carving meat at the table, but you have a 20% gratuity on top of that. And when I hear cover charge, that means something that I get charged before I even get my food. So I don't know if that $15.9 plus 20% gratuity, which is another $12, covers the food or food's on top of that. We ended up not going. It's for these reasons that we decide that the food in Royal Caribbean is better than on Norwegian. One last thing I'll say about premium food on Royal Caribbean as well. We did go to the Johnny Rockets, a premium place on Oasis of the Seas on Royal. One of the things I really liked about that was as soon as we sat down, the waiter made a point to tell us it's $15 per person to eat here. And that includes everything. All your appetizers, all of your drinks, all of your entrees. And he said, in fact, if you would like to try 2 appetizers, an entree, maybe you don't like it, send it back, get a different one, or you want 3 entrees, you want 2 desserts, a shake, and then a couple of Cokes. Hey, it's $15 per person. I thought that was wonderful. Norwegian, no, we did not like the food in Norwegian at all. And that's the end of reason number 4. Next, we'll talk about activities. Activities is reason number 5 that we chose and liked Royal over Norwegian. On Norwegian, they had activities. They had game shows. They had get-togethers and many different things on the deck where the atrium is located across from customer service. The problem with the atrium is the fact that it maybe has 30 to 50 chairs. I'm guessing it might, only be 30. And the reason I say this is it's a congregation space around a very small dance floor. When there's game shows and competitions and things people want to see, the great majority of them, they want to sit down. Behind the seating area, which is again only maybe 30 to 50 seats, there's a small aisle in front of a bar and in front of a Starbucks. And everybody stands there to see these game shows and different activities and watch things on the big screen there. There's a movie once a night there as well. You can't get through. It's standing room only, watching everything. Royal is completely the opposite. Most of the activities are on the main deck, Deck 5. And that deck, there could be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people at the same time doing different things. And still, room to walk by. You can see everything that's going on from many different floors and vantage points. There's many different bars that you can sit in and watch things. There's chairs everywhere. We saw parades there, disco party there, line dancing class there, and on and on and on. The activities, in my opinion, are handled much better. There's more room for them, and there's way more of them on Royal than our experience on Norwegian. And that's the end of reason number 5, activities. Next is the gambling. So, gambling, I'll talk about a couple different things. I'll talk about the casino first. I believe that the slots on Norwegian were much tighter than the casino on Oasis of the Seas with Royal Caribbean. We spent about the same amount of money and about the same amount of time in each of them. And we definitely had a better return in Royal Caribbean over time on the same amount of machines. And the slot tournament was more organized on Royal Caribbean than it was on Norwegian. In addition to that, the prize was better as well. I believe it was $35 to enter the slot tournament on Norwegian. I entered the first phase of that, and there was only 4 or 5 players. You had to pay again to get in round 2. I think the prize was only $500. I didn't even bother getting into that round. There was many more people and much bigger prizes in the slot tournament on the Oasis of the Seas. Another thing I'll talk about as far as gambling goes is deal or no deal. So on Norweigan Getaway, they have this game show called Deal or No Deal. And it's just like the game show on TV. And you can get a card to play along. It's $29 for 1 card and it's $59 for 3 cards. The problem with that game that I have is that the person that they pick your number on the bottom of the card, the one person that gets to go up for one of the 2 games that plays, they're the person that has the best chance to win a prize. It went up to $1,000, and most times we saw somebody win like between $100 and $200. There's 2 chances to do that. The rest of the time that you play along, as cases are pulled, you can win instant prizes. And we only saw somebody win a $50 prize maybe 2 or 3 times. It looked like about 300 people or more played Deal or No Deal every single time, which means they probably took in about 10 grand in cash every single time and maybe paid out $400. I just think that's terrible. So, the gambling, we think that Norwegian has tighter slots and we did not care for Deal or No Deal. Bingo, I'd say, is kind of a wash. It's very similar on Norwegian than it is to Royal, but overall, we believe that Royal beats Norwegian in the gambling space, reason number 6. Okay, so the last thing I'll talk about is the attitudes of the employees. Just because it was so very different on Norwegian than it was on Royal Oasis of the Seas. On Norwegian, it just seemed like some employees were overworked. They were understaffed maybe. They didn't have enough people to cover different things. We saw the same employees in 2 or 3 different places within a day. They weren't happy. They weren't exactly short with people, but they didn't go out of their way to help you. They were not overly friendly. And the overall atmosphere with the employees was very tepid, in my opinion. And the thing I have to compare that to is our experience in Royal Caribbean, where all the employees seemed so happy. They greeted us all the time. They went out of their way to help us at any time. It was just incredibly different, and it made the experience incredibly different. And we made sure the employees that helped us on Royal so very well, including our housekeeper and other people we interacted with, we made sure to give them a cash tip when we were there. So that's the end of this video. My top 7 reasons why Royal beats Norwegian. I hope you liked it, and we'll be providing some more videos about our experiences on both of these cruises very soon.
If you liked our content and would like to see more, please comment, like, subscribe.